Thank you, Lascia Corla. Minister, this question relates to corporation tax receipts, and it's asking you to commission a new independent assessment of the sustainability of Ireland's corporation tax receipts. As you well know, we have had a boom in corporation tax receipts in recent years, but there are very serious questions about the sustainability of those receipts as part of the public finances at this time. I'll come back in a moment and speak about the coffee report of a couple of years ago, but it's a very direct question. I believe that we do need to now carry out a new independent assessment to see how secure and stable this vitally important stream of revenue is.
There has been a very significant increase in our corporation tax receipts. This is an area of which there is going to be growing focus on in the next few years because of change that is very, very likely in the global tax landscape. Whether it be the work that's taking place in the OECD, whether it be changes that we may see happen as a result of global trade, I think it will be increasingly important that we form a new view regarding the sustainability of the receipts into the medium term. In relation to the direct answer of the direct question the Deputy has put to me, I do want to find a way, Deputy, in which we can form a new view of the sustainability of these receipts into the future. I need to reflect on how we can do this, given the role of the Irish Fiscal Advisory Council and the work that Mr Coffey has done in the past in relation to this area. So I want to find a way in which we can form a renewed view in relation to sustainability in the future, and I am working on the best way to do it, and I'd welcome your views on it, Deputy.
Yeah, thank you. I think it is important to look at exactly what Seamus Coffey said in his report. He said, although it is impossible to be definitive and the volatility in receipts will remain, the level shift increase in corporation tax receipts seen in 2015 can be expected to be sustainable over the medium term to 2020. So that's what he said in the middle of 2017. So in 2015 we collected €6.9 billion in corporation tax receipts, which was up over €2 billion from the year before. But since then, the figure has risen to €10.4 billion. So receipts have increased by 50% since that 2015 level of €6.9 billion. So last year, we collected 22% more than we anticipated, which was nearly €2 billion more than we expected, and receipts were up by €2.2 billion, or 27% over the previous year levels. So the scale of increase is quite spectacular since 2015, and obviously any assessment will be caveated. There will be assumptions. It's difficult to forecast this stream of revenue, but there is now a key risk for the public finances in making permanent expenditure commitments on the back of what could prove to be a transitory, volatile and temporary tax receipt.
Ministers, one minute.
Mr Coffey made his comments there in the aftermath of a shift in corporation tax yield that had occurred. If you look at where we were, Deputy, between 2012 and 2014, as you will well know, corporation tax receipts were coming in at around €4 to €4.5 billion. And then between 2015 and 2016, they moved to between 6.8 and 7.3 billion euro. So across that 2-year window, we saw a structural change in the level of corporation tax receipts, and Mr Coffey formed his views in the aftermath of that shift in tax yield. The reason, Deputy, which in fairness to you and your party, you abstained in relation to this, unlike other parties who are in favour of the abstract of broadening the base, will oppose every measure in relation to how we do it. This is why we made the change in the VAT rate for the hospitality service sector. It's why we made the changes that we have in stamp duty on commercial property. I am aware of this risk, but as I've remarked to you on other occasions, Deputy, I have yet to be in this House and face any Deputy who argues for me to spend less. But of course, it is my job to manage that balance. I'm aware of the risk, and I am going to figure out, Deputy, is there a way in which we can address the need for the review that you are referencing here again this morning.
Deputy McGrath.
Yeah, Minister, thanks for your reply. And again, I reiterate the fact that receipts in 2018 were 50% higher than in 2015, which was the period examined, I think underlines the need for this review. So I think what I'm hearing from you is that you accept at the level of principle that we do need to review how sustainable our corporation tax receipts are. I welcome that. That is progress. From my perspective, we're very happy to engage with you on this issue. I think the review should be external to the Department of Finance. That's no disrespect to your officials, but I think it should be external. I think that we should try and work together to agree on a terms of reference. I think you should consult with bodies such as the ESRI and indeed the Fiscal Advisory Council as to what the best way is to go about this. It doesn't need to be a very expensive external professional services firm necessarily. I think perhaps there is expertise there within the overall ambit of the state, so I think we should be consulting with those bodies as to exactly what we need to be examining here. But I think what I'm hearing from you is at the level of principle, you're accepting it, and I'm offering to work with you and others to frame and work through the best way of doing this, because it's a crucial question for the future of our economy and the future of prudent budgetary management.
Final response.
Accepting, as I have before, the principle of the need to do this, because I think you raised this with me a number of weeks ago in the Finance and Per Committee, to just give you a view, Deputy, about the kind of pressures and challenges I think could develop across the coming period. I can see developments happening that might strengthen where we are with corporation tax, and I can see developments happen that can challenge where we are with it as well. If I look at things that are happening that might be of benefit to where we are in corporation tax in the future, I can see that the policy stability that my party and your party have maintained around rate and the ability to determine the base, and our determination to protect that amidst all of the other change that is now taking place in corporate tax policy in other countries, could offer the potential for the progress that we have made in corporation tax receipts to be sustained into the future. As against that, what has happened in recent years has been we have seen a very strong performance in key corporate sectors in the global economy, and we can now see some of those corporate sectors experiencing challenges, and we can see a shift in the tone of global trade. So for all of those reasons, the objective of what you're talking about, particularly given that 2020 will be shortly upon us, I think it is an objective that we should look at, and I will be happy to work with the Deputy on the best way to do it.
Thank you, Minister.